surprise shone light from distant northern skies. At that point, I realized I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion, then I'm willing to play.
Welcome to the Quantum Guide Show, interviews with awakened masters as they share their quantum work with you. The Quantum Guide Show is produced by Karen Holton, creator of the 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation, a free 9-step online course to give you the tips and resources you need to thrive. Karen lost and continues to keep off 178 pounds of surplus body weight as she made her dreams come true. Whether you are awakening to the ascension process or simply want a wiser, more efficient lifestyle, this program is for you. No strings attached. The Quantum Guide Show is brought to you in part by Zendome's Orgonite, Karen's unique brand of orgone generators, ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. Find out how orgone generators work and what they can do for you. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out Karen's current selection, only available from her website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, and on Facebook, facebook.com/Quantum Health Transformation. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. My very special guest today is Jordan Maxwell, and we're going to talk about illuminating the darkness. But first, let me tell you a little bit about this very wise man. Jordan's area of expertise includes astrotheology, sexual symbolism in world religions, foundations of modern-day religion, world mysteries, ancient and modern, ancient symbols and occult emblems, ancient sciences and technology, hidden Bible teachings and mysteries, the sun in the history of politics and religion, the story your church doesn't want you to know, and secret societies and their influence on world events. Jordan Maxwell has been the preeminent researcher in studies of the occult and religious philosophy for over 50 years, at great expense to his personal life. Jordan has never had a choice and was compelled to pursue his lifetime's work. Jordan Maxwell is an independent scholar in the field of occult religious philosophy. His interest in these subjects began as far back as 1959. He served for 3.5 years as the religious editor for Truth Seeker magazine, America's oldest free thought journal since 1873. His work exploring the hidden foundations of Western religions and secret societies creates enthusiastic responses from audiences all over the world. He has conducted dozens of intensive seminars, hosted his own radio talk shows, guested on more than 600 radio shows, and written, produced, and appeared in numerous television shows and documentaries, including 3 2-hour specials for the CBS TV network, as well as the internationally acclaimed 5-part Ancient Mystery series, all devoted to understanding ancient religions and their pervasive influence on world affairs today. Jordan's motive was never monetary profit or gain, but rather a relentless pursuit of truth, which made him easy prey for a multitude of conniving and ruthless opportunists looking to make a buck off of his lifetime's worth of work and sacrifice. Being a preeminent researcher and independent scholar did not leave time to pursue being the consummate businessman, and particular self-serving characters took advantage of this as opportunities to exploit. This caused Jordan severe economic harm and made it very difficult for Jordan to obtain the basic necessities required to sustain life, let alone pay for legal fees and defend his rights. But Jordan battled on for his name, image, and life's work, and now he continues with his research and work. Welcome, Jordan, to the Quantum Guide Show. How are you?
Well, thank you very much, Karen. I think I'm doing okay, but we'll see. My friend Steve Allen used to say, well, we're going to find out soon enough how I'm doing. Yeah, I'm delighted to be on the show with you.
Thank you.
And say it again.
What are you up to?
No good. I am now looking at some really arcane subjects.
Ooh,
and some of it's very, very controversial stuff that most people have never heard before. That's what I do. I love prying into secrets that people have never heard before and things that people are not aware of. I don't know. I've just always gravitated toward the dark side of life. All the strange lies and deceptions that we've been told by government, religions, and institutions, and military. And, it's just an incredible world we live in. We've just never been told the truth about much of anything. But I have been doing this kind of research since 1960, 59 and 60. We're talking about almost 60 years ago. And what got me started on this was because even as a child, I had an inquiring mind that was analytical. Even at an 8-year-old, I was analyzing words that adults would say and then watching their mannerisms, watching how they presented stuff to me and how they presented stuff. And I could tell there was something going on. I couldn't explain it, but I know there's something going on where adults are merely giving me their opinions. They don't know anything for sure. They're just giving me their opinions. Well, yeah, you could spend 5 lifetimes trying to get people's opinions all over the world. I'm not interested in people's opinions. I don't care about opinions. I want to know the facts. I want to know the truth. And so I realized at a very early age, I've got to do that kind of research myself to find the truth for me. And so I started very earnestly reading and studying and questioning everything. Let me give you an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about as an 8-year-old. When you're 8 or 9 years old in the Catholic Church, I was born and raised Catholic, and when you're Catholic at 8 or 9 years old, you have something called confirmation service, in which you are confirmed to be a Catholic at 8 years old. But at the confirmation service, the nuns told us in the school the day before, we were told as children, now tomorrow night at the confirmation service, all of you children are going to be there, and the bishop will be coming to town, and he's going to be there, so that means everybody, all the Catholics in town are going to be there, because the bishop will be in town. And so just remember that tomorrow night, the bishop, after the service is over, he might ask you, maybe not, but he might ask you if you have any questions about your religion. And if that happens, remember, you do not have any questions. You don't ask any questions. You keep that in mind. You keep your mouth shut. And so that next night, after the service was over, sure enough, the bishop did say to the children, he said, if any of you children have any questions, I'll try and answer them for you. And I stood up. I wanted everybody in the church to know who I am. I stood up. And I said, yes, I have a question for you. I said, my father works with torches like a welder. And I said, and he's let me play with torches on occasions and hold them. So I know how bad they can be and how dangerous they can be. And I know what they can do. And I said, my question to you is, if I were holding a torch and it was on fire, and if an angel appeared to me, in the Bible, we see the angels on occasions will appear in a form that humans can see them. And if an angel appeared to me, could I take my torch and burn him or would it hurt him if I burned him as an angel? And he said, no, you can't burn an angel. I said, why not? He said, because you can't even see an angel, much less burn one. To burn something, you need something natural, like wood or paper or plastic or something to burn. You can't burn an angel. I said, why can't you burn an angel? He said, because angels are spirits, and you can't burn a spirit. And I said, well, then why am I concerned about going to hell where my spirit will burn forever if you can't burn a spirit? And he looked at me like a deer in the headlights. He'd never heard that before. And everybody in the church thought about that. For the first time in their life, they finally thought about something. And nobody had any answers. And the priest standing next to me said, you sit down and shut up. Sit down and shut up. At that point, I realized that the bishop himself doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know how to answer anything. I'm only an 8-year-old, and I've stumped him. And I know there's something wrong with an 8-year-old stumping an adult who's supposedly well-trained in his understanding. So after that, I started putting pieces of Alka-Seltzer in the holy water. I figured that will scare enough people and frighten everybody. When I go into church on Sunday, I just drop Alka-Seltzer in the holy water. And it would scare everybody. And I started having fun with people and adults because I'd ask them questions they never thought of before, never even considered before. And that's what I do for now with my life is I ask questions that nobody's ever asked before, and then I find the answer and tell you what it is, whether you like it or not. And so that's what I do. I love talking about things that most people have never heard of before. And one of the most startling things I have learned in my life is how much we as humans do not know. That's really scary when you find out how much you really don't know about the world you live in. And one thing I have learned that was the most incredible story I have ever heard is how we today, you and I, are living in North America. The most incredible thing I have learned in the past few years is the fact that, this I knew back in the 1980s. But I'm just now starting to talk about it. But I've known this for quite a few years. That we are not, in North America, we are not living in the United States of America. We Americans say that we're living in the United States of America. In point of fact, any federal judge will tell you that's not true. You're not living in the United States of America. You're living in the United States, period. The United States is a corporation like General Electric, General Motors, Ford Motor Company, and Exxon Oil. It's just a company. It's a corporation. It has nothing to do with a republic. The republic was done away with back in 1871. The republic was dropped off, and there's no more United States of America republic. Why? Because after the Civil War in America, which was very bloody and very serious Civil War in America, the United States was many things, but united was not one of them. After the Civil War, we were not united. We tried to kill each other in this country. And so the politicians and the big money guys who run the planet with their money and their influence, they realize that we're not going to be united anymore. But what are you going to do with the people? There's millions of them. They want to live, they want to eat, they want to reproduce, they want to go to school, they want to do all these things that humans do. So if you don't have a republic anymore, there's no longer a United States of America republic, and we're not united. So what are you going to do? How are you going to handle this with all the people you got to take care of? And so it was decided that they would create a corporation, a company. And consequently, they created the United States Incorporate, in United States Company Corporation. And they said that if you are living in this corporation called United States, you are a corporate citizen. You are a member of the corporation. Therefore, you are a corporation yourself. You are a business. Thank God what you do is none of my business. And what I do is none of your business. Because why? Because we are a business, and you run your business the way you want. I'll run my business the way I want. And so, if I see you coming out of a restaurant with a guy one night, and I said, I call you the next day, I say, Karen, that man you were out with last night, he's bad company. Better watch out for him. He's bad company. And you say, mind your own business. We're getting married. He's going to be my partner. Partner, business, company. We're talking commerce. We're talking business. That's why if you're going to get married, you got to have a license. It's a marriage license, like a driver's license. A license is a permit to do something which without that permit would be unlawful. And so if you're going to get married, you are a business. Thank God it's none of my business. But you are a business, and you're going to get married to another person who's also a business. That's Ford Motor Company doing business with General Electric. That's fine. Big corporations can work together as long as you get a permit. You better have your lawyers look into it and make sure everything is right with the government before you join forces. And so that's why you have a marriage license, because you are a business. And another classic example of how this stuff works is that when you buy a new car, you get something called an operator's manual. You get a little operator's manual telling you when to change the oil and how to drive it correctly and what to do and what not to do. It's called an operator's manual. Why? Because you're operating a vehicle. But if you're buying that car, that motorcycle, that Jeep, that truck, or whatever it is, 16-wheeler, it doesn't matter if it's got wheels and you bought it and you're buying it to do business. You're going to use it as a business. You're going to use that car as a cab. Now it's a business. It's not your private operator. You're not just a private operator. You're a business now. You're using it to make money. Therefore, if you're using wheels to make money, you are referred to by law as a driver. You are a truck driver, a bus driver. A driver is a corporate term for a bus driver, cab driver, truck driver. You're not an operator. Therefore, you don't have the operator's manual. You are a driver. And you have to have a license because it's a business. So you have to have a driver's license. The driver's license is a permit to make money with those wheels, which without that permit, you would be against the law about going out making money without telling the government. And so you have to have a driver's license. And so the whole idea is that everything in America, North America, actually in Canada too, everything is a business. If you're getting married, that's a business. But thank God who you marry is none of my business. And who I live with is none of your business. But it's nothing more than a business.
Can I
And
ask?
and if it doesn't work out, you're not going to God, you're going to court. And you better bring your house with you and your car and anything else you own. Just a business.
Jordan, I want to ask you how that ties in with maritime law.
Maritime law goes back to before the Roman Empire existed. Before the Roman Empire existed, there was something called maritime admiralty law. It was opposing something called the common law. The common law was the people who live on the land in common. And so the common law was the law of the land. And we've heard that term. Well, that's the law of the land. Law of the land is referred to as the law of the people who live on a particular piece of land. It's their customs, the way they live, the way they dress, the way they eat. And it's the way they live. So if you're going to go to another country, then learn how they live and start acting like it. Because if you're going to be in their society, they have certain customs and arrangements, and they don't do things the way you do in your country. So when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? And so that's why there are different kinds of law. There are two kinds of law on the earth: the law of the land and the law of the sea, or the law of water. The law of the land is different in every land. You can do things in South Africa you can't do in America. You can do things in Russia you can't do in Canada. Why? Because it's the custom of the people. The custom will not allow you to do things. If you want to do what you have to do, go back to your country and do it. Don't do it in their country, because you'll get in trouble. So it's the law of the land is the law of the people who live on the land. We don't live in water, we live on land. But the law of the land is in relation to the law of water, because that's the only two things we got on this earth is land and water, period. That's the only two things we got on the earth is water and land. So we got a law that covers the law of the land, the people who live on the land, and we got a law that covers the sea. The law of the sea is called maritime. Mara is water in Latin. So maritime admiralty means the law of water. And the law of water is the law of money. We say money goes through your hands like water. No, money is water by law. Money is considered a liquid asset. You either got the cash flow or you don't have the flow. That's what rivers do. That's why you put your money in a bank. It's called a river bank. Why? Because a river bank is where you put your money. Why? Because that's where what does a river bank do? A river bank directs the flow of the currency. Your money is a current. It comes in and goes out. Comes in and goes out. Just like the currents every day at the ocean. Comes in and goes out continually. My particular case, it just goes out. Very little comes in. But the point being is that's what your money is. It's a current. That's why it's called currency. And so, and that's based on the fact that your mother, when she gave birth to you, you came out of the mother's water. You were encapsulated inside of her in water. But when her water broke, you came out. And so, according to international laws that were regulated before the Roman Empire, said because you came out of your mother's water, you were a maritime admiralty. That's where we get the word admiralty, admiral of the Navy. A nave is N-A-V-E. Nave is the body of a church. All this goes back to the Roman Empire, the Roman Catholic Church. A nave as a body of a church. And so we have something called United States Navy. Every country has a navy. A nave is a body of a church. And so it's a very interesting story about how the world actually, in point of fact, works. It doesn't work anything like you think it does. That's why people are in trouble continually. Why? Because they don't know how the world works. You know that you have to go to court, but you never thought about the fact that you play tennis on a court. How do you play tennis on a court? You play with a racket. Come on.
It's like hidden in plain sight, all of it.
All of it. It's just that we never thought about it until somebody called your attention to it. I mean, why is it in Israel today, when you have a child in Israel, they're called the children of Israel? But for the rest of us, we have kids. We don't have children. We have kids. A kid is a baby goat. Why do we have kids while in Israel they have children, the children of Israel? It's because you need to understand how the people in power today in this world view you. How do they view Canadians and Americans? They view you as an animal, period. Because if you go to something called the Styles magazine, you can buy the Styles magazine from the United States Congress. The printing office in Washington, D.C. prints books, and you can buy this book. It's called the Styles Magazine of Chicago, Chicago Styles Magazine. The magazine is all the words that the federal government and state governments use and what they mean in a court, not what you think they mean. So if you really want to be a good lawyer, you better buy the Styles magazine and you better study it well. Because everything in that magazine, all those words, they tell you what the court sees those words to mean, not what you thought they meant. So that's why if you're going to be a lawyer, you better know what you're talking about when you go before a judge and use the right words, or you're going to lose. And so it's called Styles Magazine. Well, if you look at the Styles Magazine, you will find out that if you are a male or a female, the male and female designation is for an animal. Animals are referred to as male and female. But we are man and woman, and therefore, logically, we are supposed to be called masculine or feminine. That's the way it is written in the King's Old English 1,000 years ago. Males were masculine and women were feminine. And so today, we're not called masculine or feminine. We're called male and female. Why? Because the dictionary, the Styles magazine says male and female are animals to be applied to dogs and cats. And so that's the way we are being viewed on your identification, your driver's license. It says male or female. You're not a woman. You're not considered to be a woman. You're considered to be an animal. You reproduce and you cause them money, and the government has to control you, just like adults have to control an animal. And so that's why you'll call a male and a female, because you're an animal. Most people don't know these things and the way the governments work and the way a court works. Why do you have a judge in a court? You have to have a judge in a court because the judge is wearing a black robe. When he walks out, everyone rises. Why? Because of the black robe. Black robes were always assigned to the planet Saturn. Saturn was called Lord of the Rings. Hollywood is still making movies called Lord of the Rings. Well, Saturn is Lord of the Rings. That's why the Saturn is today the god of the Jewish people. The Jews today around the world worship the planet Saturn, but nobody ever told them that but me. And so nobody knows. The Jews, when they go to synagogue, are worshiping the planet Saturn. And Saturn was referred to as El, E-L in Hebrew. But in point of fact, there is no such a thing as a Hebrew language. So when you have people tell you, well, you know, in the Hebrew it says this, this, and that, there is no such a thing as a Hebrew language. It's called Ibaru or Ibaru. It's not Hebrew. And there is no such a language as Hebrew. Hebrew is a people, a particular kind of people. And they speak a different language than we do, so we call it Hebrew. No, it's not Hebrew. It's a Phoenician language, Phoenician Canaanite language. So if you want to understand Hebrew correctly, go back and get a dictionary on Phoenician language, because the Hebrews were Phoenician. They were speaking the Phoenician language. But we call it Hebrew because we don't know what they're talking about, so we just call it Hebrew. No, it's Phoenician. That's where we get our word phonics, from Phoenician. We have Phoenician phonics, and the word phony also comes from Phoenician. It's phony, phonics. And so it's the trickery of words. There's a phony phonics, trickery of words. And if you don't know how to understand the words and the terms, you're going to live a life of horror and tragedy, because you have no idea in the world what the courts are saying, what the judges are saying, what the law is saying, what business is saying. You have no idea about how the world works. Therefore, when you have a baby, you don't realize the baby is considered a corporation, a company. And all companies, if you're a corporation, your name, in all corporate law, your name must be in all capital letters. If you sign your name upper and lowercase, that represents your blood and flesh and body. Upper and lowercase letters in your name represents your physical body. But if you look at your identification, your driver's license, insurance license, and your bills you get from the utility bills, they always must be in all capital letters, because all capital letters means you are a business. You are a corporation and a business, and therefore that's why you're paying taxes, because you're doing business. It's called the business of living. You have to pay your bills to live. So therefore, it's a business. And therefore, if you're a business, it's all capital letters. This is why when you go to a graveyard, you will see on the tombstones, the people buried there, their names are in all capital letters. Because upper and lower case represents your body, but they're not here in their body. They are a defunct business. They used to be in business, but they're out of business now. Their company is gone, so they can't keep you company because they're gone. They don't exist anymore. So their names are in all capital letters. They are a defunct corporation. It's fascinating how much people don't know about the world they live in.
I agree. Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
How does, so far we've talked about how the countries are corporations. We've talked about maritime law. Can you lead that into how it fits with the economy? Because our ignorance is really good for business.
Oh, God, yeah.
That?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have a wonderful economy because nobody knows what's going on. We get ripped off just waking up in the morning, you got ripped off. Yeah, it's really quite a story. Uh, Maritime admiralty, mera is like the water. The sea is called mera. This is why you have a mermaid. Mermaid is a babe, comes from the sea. Mermaid, mer is the sea. And so that's why when the waves come in, we call it enchanting. They just sit and listen to the waves. They're enchanting. So enchanting sea is a merchant. And so therefore, if you're in business, you're a merchant. You are listening to the chant of the money coming into your catch registers, just like music to your ears. It's enchanting. It's enchanting, or it's like an entrance. So you get entranced with your money and your business. That's why if you're going to do any business and you have a company, you have to have an entrance. So people can come into your business, they come in through the entrance. So they are entranced with the idea of doing business with money. So they are entranced, they come in the entrance. They go out the exit, but they come into the entrance. And so it's just interesting to watch words and terms and ideas and laws. Banking is all part of a system of words and terms which have been around for thousands of years. It came out of the Roman Empire. Today, America is the new Roman Empire, and Canada is part of our empire. It's part of the Roman Empire. And why? Because if you go back in the history books, go back and read about ancient Rome, it will tell you, you ask the question, where did Caesar rule Rome from? Where was he? We know in our country, Caesar rules from Washington, D.C. That's where the government operates from in America. But where did Caesar in ancient Rome, where did he officially officiate over his government? He, in ancient Rome, we are told, ran his government of the whole empire from a place called Capitoline Hill. He was up on the hill. It's called Capitol Hill. Well, today we have a Capitol Hill. And the guys up on Capitol Hill, they actually believe they're Caesar. They represent God, like the Holy Father. The Holy Father in Rome on Capitol Hill. And so the Holy Father is holy because he communicates with God. He is the original Godfather. Get it?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Yeah, you start looking at words. He's the Godfather. He's the Holy Father who represents God. And then when you find out how the banks work, banks operate on maritime admiralty law. The basis for this was this is the way to understand it. Back in the Roman Empire did business all over the world through ships. And so that's why today, if you do any business, they're going to ship it to you. Okay, so if they're going to ship something to you, when a ship pulls in the harbor, here's the point. According to the Roman Empire's law, the ancient Roman Empire, all ships were female. All ships were named after women. That's why captains, a captain of an airship, a rocket ship, sailing ship, I don't care what kind of ship. If he's a captain of a ship, his name is captain. Captain comes from the word capital, which is money. He's the capital of the ship. And it's a really interesting story about how all this stuff works. I get telephone calls all day long.
Sure you
Anyway, when a ship pulls into harbor, the ship is referred to as a female. And that's why captains will always say, she's a good ship. Oh, she's been very good. She's very seaworthy. She's this and she's that. She. Why she? Because ships are female because she delivers the product. Without her delivering, there ain't going to be no human race. She delivers the product. The male manufactures. The male is manufacturing with his partner, and she is in labor creating the product. So therefore, she is developing the product that he has manufactured. And therefore, when the ship pulls into harbor, it's a she. She is pulling into harbor, and where she parks at is at the dock. And so therefore, when every item that comes off that ship, say $800 million worth of televisions or Toyotas or whatever, every single item on that ship has to have its own paperwork to say how much does it weigh, what color is it, a 4-door, 2-door, how much does it weigh, what color is it, does it have air conditioning? Every single product must be accounted for, period. Why? Because it's international maritime admiralty business under British maritime law. Money is changing hands between Germany and America. When they send over $800 million worth of Toyotas, Japan is doing business with America, and Japan wants to get paid. They put up the money to produce the product. They send it over to us. When we officially accept it, we now owe Japan the money. And so therefore, she has delivered the product to us. And therefore, she has delivered a product on water. So out of the water comes the product. Well, that's the same way with you. You came out of your mother's water. You came down the birth canal. Right. And therefore, you are considered to be a maritime admiralty product. You are a product of water. And so today we say money goes through your hands like water. No, money is water. It's the liquid asset. And so when you begin to understand that that she, when she pulls into harbor, she has to have a certificate of manifest for every single item coming off that ship. It's got to be accounted for. So when $800 million worth of Toyotas come in, and then we tell Japan, well, we got you $750 million worth of Toyotas, they're going to say, wait a minute, we sent you $800 million.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? You just lost $50 million of our money? Is that what you're telling us?
Mm-hmm.
Where did those cars go? We know how many we sent. And you're saying you got 50 million less. Where did those cars go? Prove it to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, it's called a Maritime Admiralty Certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's coming off the boat and she brought it in on water. So it's called a certificate.
Mm-hmm.
But where the ship parks is called her berth. A berth is where a ship parks at the dock.
Mm-hmm.
And so every piece comes off of her has to have a birth certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when you were born, you have to have a birth certificate because your mother gave birth. And who signs your birth certificate? The dock signs it. That's when she was parked, at the dock.
Mm-hmm.
The dock signs your birth certificate. And you are a Maritime Admiralty product, which means the government has already decided they're going to make a lot of money off of you. You're going to pay taxes. You're going to pay fines and regulations and fees. Mm-hmm. They're just going to make a lots of money off of you. Why? Because you came down the birth canal. You are a water product, and you have to have a birth certificate. And so on the birth certificate, they will tell you how much you weigh, how many doors you have. You have air conditioning. What color are you? Were you black or white or Native American? And so it's very interesting the way the world actually works. If you understand how the world works, then you will stay out of trouble because you know how to maneuver yourself in the world of business. It's a very serious world we live in. You can go to prison for saying things that you don't understand. That's why you have to have a lawyer. He's your mouthpiece. Mm-hmm. We call lawyers our mouthpiece. Why? Because he's been trained to know when you go into a court, you're playing a game, like a basketball court, a tennis court. And anytime you're playing a game, you got to have an umpire. You got to have somebody who watches the game to make sure it's played right. And so that's what the judge does. The judge is not, he doesn't care who wins or loses, couldn't care less. He's there to make sure the game is played correctly. So if one group says one thing is wrong, the judge can step in and say, nope, you're wrong. He gets to serve now because you said something wrong, and so it's his turn. And then when you do something and it's wrong, the judge will say, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You have to let him do it now because you said something wrong, so it's his turn. And so you have to have a judge oversee the game. That's what we call them umpires. The umpires build the empire. And so the umpires will decide what's right and what's wrong. They're called judges. Judges wear black robes. Why? Because the planet Saturn, as a god, always wore a black robe. Look in the dictionaries on the black robes. It will tell you black robes were always the symbol of Saturn, the god Saturn. Saturn was called El in the Phoenician language, El. This is why you have in what we call the Hebrew, in the Jewish religion, they have a Temp-El. Temple, they go to Temp-El. When did they go to Temp-El? They go on Saturn Day.
I was going to ask you how this all ties in with religion and in specifically the Church of Rome. Can you tie that into our
discussion? Gosh, yes. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Let's get into
the Church of Rome was developed by Jewish Freemasonry, the Masonic order out of Judaism. That's why the Pope wears the yarmulke, a little Jewish headdress. All the cardinals wear the Jewish yarmulke. Why? Because the Roman Catholic Church is Jewish Freemasonry. You need to understand the Freemasonic and Freemasonry. They run the world you live in. The banks, the government, military, The schools, education, laws, everything is run by Freemasons. It's a Masonic world, which is based on ancient Jerusalem. And incidentally, there never was an ancient Jerusalem. That's another interesting point that people need to know. There never has been and never was an ancient Jerusalem, or an ancient Israel, I should say, ancient Israel. There was an ancient city called Jerusalem, but there was no ancient Israel that you read about in the Old Testament of the Bible about the King David and King Solomon and all these great kings and princes. None of those people ever existed. They were just a story. None of them. There was no King David. If you go back to the old 1500s when the first printing presses were pouring out the Bible and printing the Bible, go back to the old original Bibles and then go to the scriptures today. Go to the scriptures that talk about King David and then look those scriptures up in the old Bible, the old one, the original. And it doesn't say King David. It says King Druid. Not David, David. No, Druid, King Druid, not King David. It's been mistranslated through the century. King David was King Druid because the Druids were the religious people of the Roman Empire. They were called a holy priesthood, and from the Druids in the ancient Roman Empire, we get the Nazis. This is why there's a very strong connection that most people have no idea about between the Jewish religion and the Nazi religion of Adolf Hitler. Very obvious when you really look into it. That's why the Germans have Jewish names and the Jews have German names. Why? Because there's a connection between Germany and Jewish and Israel that you don't know anything about. And if you go back to the ancient history of Egypt, there was a people called Hyksos. Hyksos meant the people who crossed over illegally, the people who came into Egypt illegally. They were coming across the border illegally into Egypt. The Egyptians called them Hyksos. They were Hyksos people. The Hyksos are what we call today the Hebrew people. And so when they came into Egypt, they came in illegally. They crossed over the border. There wasn't that tight borders like we have today. They could just come into Egypt anytime they want and eat and do whatever they please and make money. And when they want to, they could leave. And so they weren't paying any taxes. They just do whatever they want to do. And eventually the Egyptian changed government and called them pharaohs. And the pharaohs said, we're no longer going to have a female goddess like Isis. Isis was a feminine goddess. And the pharaohs came in and said, we're changing all of that. I can do that because I'm pharaoh. Whether you like it or not, that's what I'm doing. I'm changing the religion of Egypt. From here on out, we have a male god. He's going to be called God the Father, not the Mother. Because the mother is always the soft-hearted, taking care of the family, the nurturing. And we don't want a nurturing goddess in Egypt anymore. We want a man who's going to defend this country from people who are coming in and taking everything we own and ripping us off. So from here on out, we got a male god. He's going to be God. He's going to be called the God of War. He's going to be a violent, warring God. God the Father. He's taking care of the family of the Egyptians. And so they do that through the Pharaoh. So from here on out, we no longer have an Isis goddess, the goddess Isis. We now have a male god called Amun-Ra. Amun-Ra was a male god, God the Father. And so therefore, God the Father was Amun-Ra, R-A. We put a Y on him as Sun Ra. No, it was a sun god. His name was Ra, R-A. And so you take Isis, I-S, and Ra, R-A, and the Jewish god El, E-L, becomes Israel.
Ah,
Israel is Isis, Ra, and El, the three names of the sun god in the ancient Arabic world. So that's where we get the word Israel.
would that
Nothing holy about Israel. It's just the three names of the sun god.
would that be the same time, basically the birth of the what we consider the patriarchy?
Yes, exactly. And in point of fact, there was no patriarch. There was no patriarch. There was no what's his name? Um, Abraham and Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham never existed. There never was a man named Abraham. If you go back to look at the religion and study theology like I have for 60 years, you will find out what I already know, is
Mm-hmm.
that there was no ancient Israel, there was no ancient patriarchs, there was no Abraham or Sarah. Neither one ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
Because in India today, there's a very powerful ancient priesthood in India. They're
Mm-hmm.
called Brahmins.
Mm-hmm.
Brahmins. And the Brahmins say of themselves that they are God's chosen people. They represent the Almighty God of India, the Brahmins. So, but how does the Bible say Abraham was called in the Old Testament? Originally, he was called Abram, not Abraham, Abram.
Mm-hmm.
Abram, Brahmins. And so the A in front of Brahman becomes Abram or Abram.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Abrahams became Abraham. And
Mm-hmm.
and today in India, the Brahmins, if you talk with the Brahmins or read about the Brahmins, they will tell you that in the Brahmin religion of India, there is a very special goddess who is part of the Brahmin religion. She is very special to the Brahmins, like the Holy Mother, like Mary, the Mother of God. Well, in India, they have a Mary, Mother of God. Her name is Saraswati. Saraswati. Saraswati is the goddess of India, and
Mm-hmm.
she's connected to the Father. The Holy Father is Brahman. So you got Abraham and Sarah. No, it's Abraham and Saraswati. So it's the same religion as India, and we picked it up. We call it Christianity or Judaism.
Yeah. I gotta ask you, Jordan, in all of this, how do we express our free who we are? So, like for instance, if our country is a corporation and it thinks it owns our body, and the Pope thinks it owns our soul, and the commercial system is very much trying to own our minds,
That's right,
how
exactly.
how can we where can we go, or how can we approach this so that we can step into our own sovereignty? Do you have suggestions?
There
Without
is
us
one
getting
way you
beat
can
up by
do
the
it.
police.
Yeah, you can do that, but it's very difficult. And most people do not realize how simple it is, but it's going to cost you a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
not money, but it's going to cost you in your life if you want to break free from this system. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to break free from what our organized crime has set up for us, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to cost you something. When you leave out of the mafia, when you're in the organized criminal world, and you decide you don't want to be there anymore, you don't want to crawl on your knees anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's going to cost you. You're
We
going to have,
become scapegoat. Is
yeah.
that what you're getting at? We become scapegoat.
Well, the only way
Shilling
I can tell
and
you that if you want to get out of the federal system, there's a difference between a federal citizen and a state citizen. The
mm-hmm.
only way to get out from under the federal government is to opt out of the federal government and opt into something called the state government. You can do it in Canada or the United States. It's
Mm-hmm.
easier to do it in the US, but you
Mm-hmm.
can do it in Canada too if you know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You get out of the federal so that no longer are you connected to the federal government at all, period. The
So
federal
that means
government
losing our pensions, losing our all kinds of things.
Well, but the point
That's
is that if you opt out, if you send the paperwork and say you don't want to be a part of the federal government anymore, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that automatically puts you into another kind of government that has to, that you have to be under some kind of a government
Yeah.
that control you some way.
Yeah.
So the other way is if you don't want to go along with the federal government, which nobody should because it's an organized crime. It's a banking scheme to rape and rip off everybody.
I agree.
Businesses and corporations and you. You're a business. Incidentally, did you know that your body, your flesh and blood body, is a security on the New York Stock Exchange?
I've heard that. I've
Yeah,
heard that. Probably from you.
probably from me. I'm the one who's talking about it.
Yeah.
If you take your Social Security card, if you got a Social Security card, in Canada, I don't know what you call it,
Social
but it's an
insurance.
official.
Same thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why is it called Social Security? Because you are a security for the body social called Canada. Canada has a lot of people. All the people are called Canadian. Why? Because they all work for the Canadian government, which is a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore it's a corporation, and therefore you are a citizen of the corporation. You work for the company.
Mm-hmm.
You work for the company. So therefore you are a security. As long as you're doing your job and making money and paying your bills and paying your Social Security and paying your taxes and all that stuff. Just keep paying and just keep paying and paying.
Paying.
Yeah, just keep paying. Then
Yeah.
you are a security for the corporation. They're making money off of you. You and 20, 25 million more like you.
Mm-hmm.
Paying $100, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore you are a security for the corporation. So that when you retire, what you're doing, when you walk off the job, you're going home to go to bed, you're leaving the company, you're retiring for the evening. But when you retire for life and you're retiring, the corporation is giving you back a certain tiny percentage of what you've given them because you were security for them, for the body social. So they're giving you social security. You're part of the social arrangement now, but you're not working. So now they have to pay you something every month so you can pay your bills. And so they give you Social Security. Why? Because you are a security for the body social. A lot of people do not know that a Social Security card on the front has numbers. Those numbers are like anybody else who works for a corporation. If you work for a corporation while you're on duty working every day, you wear a badge to show that you are, in fact, an employee of this corporation. You have a right to be here. You're a member of the corporation. And so, therefore, that's what's on the front of your Social Security is your badge number. That number on the front of Social Security is your employee number. But if you take that Social Security and turn it backwards and go to the back of the Social Security card, you will see a series of numbers. The series of numbers represent your body, your flesh and blood body on the Securities Stock Exchange of New York, and your particular body with your particular name when you were born has those numbers. It's on the back of your Social Security card. And so if you call one of the big security companies in New York and tell them you were cleaning your grandmother's garage for her, and you happen by chance to find a security document in the garage, and you're wondering if it's any good or not, and how much it's worth or is it worth anything, they will then say, give us the security number. And so you look on the back of your Social Security card and give them that number. And they will come back and say, oh, yeah, that belongs to Karen so-and-so. Okay, that's Karen. And you say, well, I'm Karen. Oh, well, okay, this is your number then. How much is it worth? Is it worth anything? Yes, it's worth $9 million.
Oh, how can we
Oh,
cash in on some of that?
that's right. You are worth $9 million on this New York Stock Exchange. Most people have never heard of such a thing. They don't know. They never heard. But in 2008, when people were losing their homes,
Mm-hmm.
I kept thinking, if these people who are losing their homes only knew they were worth $9 million on the stock exchange, all you got to do is call the stock exchange and give them your number on the back of your Social Security card and ask them, how much is it worth? And they will say, well, this one belongs to Karen so-and-so, or this one belongs to Jordan Maxwell. How much is it worth? $9 million. Can I sell off 1 million, sell it, put it on the stock exchange to be bought? Yes, if you want to. If you own $3 million worth of Ford Motor Company stock and you want to sell it off for $1 million, they will do that for you. They'll put it out there for sale. And if somebody buys it, now you have $1 million given to you. You just made yourself $1 million, but now you're only on the stock market for $8 million because you were worth $9 million. You just sold 1/9 of how much you're worth. But what do you care? You made $1 million, and you still got $8 million in savings on the stock market. Now you can pay all your bills and go to Europe and have dinner. Pay all your bills, pay your home, pay your car, pay your airplane. You made $1 million off the stock exchange just selling a piece of yourself on the stock exchange. So
But what's the catch? There's got to be a catch.
Most people don't know anything about none of this, how it really works.
Wow.
Bankers do. Bankers do. They know because they work at the river bank. They direct the flow of the current. They know who you are. They know they got your name and how much your body's worth. And it's quite a story when you begin to break down how the world really works. It doesn't work anything like you do, like you think it does. Nothing. Nothing works the way you think it does.
I agree. Jordan, we're starting to get close to the end of the time, so I wanted you to spend the next few minutes telling us what you're up to, where can we find you? You're going to be at the big conference in Laughlin, Nevada, I understand, coming up. Do you want to speak to the viewers a little bit on how they can find you and what you're up to? And
well, I'm up to no good. But you can find me on the web. But keep in mind, there are other websites out there on the web with my name on them. But other people are using my name because they know my name is well known around the world and people trust me. And so they are selling products in my name. I'm not making anything. They are selling my videos and books and using my name on their website to make it look like it's me, so people will buy things from them, and they're making the money, not me. And so
which is your, I know that the jordanmaxwellshow.com is yours.
That's mine.
Is jordanmaxwell.com also yours?
No, it is not.
It isn't. Well, I'm glad you told me because I'm putting links in below and I want to put in the links that are the good links.
Yeah, well, no, it's Jordan Maxwell Show. My website. JordanMaxwell.com is not mine. Somebody else is using it.
Looks like it's yours. It's got your picture. It's got all your stuff. I thought, I'm going to put that in the links and help Jordan out. And I'm not putting it in now. I didn't know.
It's not me. It's not me. Anybody can take my picture off the web. Yeah. Anybody who knows how to do it can put my picture and make it look like my website. Anybody can do that. And they do. They're putting my name and my picture on a website and calling it mine. And so people are sending donations to jordanmaxwell.com. It's not to me. I don't get anything.
Layers and layers and layers of crap in this reality, thank God we can sort through some of it. But, it's a bit disturbing. Myself, I've had people steal my name and steal my product brand. And I just, I don't know. I don't have the time to go and even do the research to find out what to do about it. So I just carry.
I know. That's the way life is. People will rip you off to make a quick buck off of you. They want to make money off of you, and it's even better if you're an old man, because maybe hopefully you'll die, and then they'll own you forever. They will own your products and own and make money off of you for the rest of their life, and they'll live well until they finally die and leave you alone. And they hope you will die, so you can't do anything about it. And so they will sell your books and sell your tapes and represent them as you. And so the people who have my website are also sending out emails to everybody, because they got 27,000 names on my email account that they send out to people all the time asking for donations for Jordan Maxwell.
Wow.
Jordan Maxwell needs the donation. He needs your spiritual help. He needs your financial help. And so people all over the world are sending donations to jordanmaxwell.com. Not me. I'm not getting a nickel. They're taking it. They're taking the whole thing.
The world seems to be steeped in sociopathy. So the whole system is sociopathic, and people are taking their cues from this system, and they seem to be the kind of people who fit into and do well in the system. And those of us who wake up kind of find ourselves, it's a bit of a frightening environment, because we have to protect our butts 3 ways to Sunday. And, thank God for people like you that can help wake us up and give us some direction. Because, we are like lambs. We really are. We're good, and we love people, and we're empathetic, and we're just...
And you're just a sitting duck.
Sitting ducks. And I, for one, am tired of it. So
yeah, I am too. I'm tired of people lying about me and misrepresenting me and emailing other people for a donation for me. I never see a nickel, none of it.
It's just horrendous. Well, I'm going to make sure that I've got your good links below. Is it okay if I put your email address on there, or you just want to have your...
Of course.
Okay, so I'm going to have, all I'm going to put on there is your email, and I'm going to put on there jordanmaxwellshow.com. That's it.
Correct.
And they can reach you through that, and then they can inquire if they want to make a donation, buy your product.
They want to make a donation or do whatever with me, they go to Jordan Maxwell Show. Now, I want to add to this. The idea that if you go to Jordan Maxwell Show, the Jordan is like the River Jordan.
Yeah.
Maxwell is like the coffee.
Yeah.
Jordan Maxwell Show. Mm-hmm. If you go to Jordan Maxwell Show, that's my website. And so when you go on Jordan Maxwell Show, you will see that I have a second website on my Jordan Maxwell Show. It's called the Jordan Maxwell Research website.
And that's yours too.
You need. Yeah, that's mine. It's on my website. It's mine. And so as a Jordan Maxwell Research website, you click on it and you have to join it. Mm-hmm. You have to join the website, the research website. Why? Because I've got all the pictures and documents and research papers and audio and videos and all kinds of research I've been doing over the years. It's all on my research website. But I was told by my attorney friends, that if you're going to put information on the web, which is very, very controversial stuff government does not want people to know, if you're going to do that, you better be careful, because you could go to jail if they find out you're telling tales out of school, and you're telling people things that are going to cause the government trouble. They're going to come after you. They're going to come after you and arrest you for talking in public about things you're not supposed to tell the people. So if you're going to put stuff on your web, I was told by my attorneys, put it into a private website. Because, and the way it was explained to me, is that if you go out to dinner with, say, 10 of your friends, you're going out and you go to a restaurant and you get a table in the back of the restaurant, and it's just you and your 9 friends, all of you sitting around the table. You can say anything you want at that table as long as your friends don't mind. You
Mm-hmm.
can say anything about anybody, call anybody you want, any name you want, no matter how foul and no matter how rough the language is, it doesn't matter. It's a private conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has any business listening to you at that table but your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they are there for you. They want to be part of what you're doing. So that's why the government has nothing to say about what you're talking about at your table. That's private conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
if you go on the air and start talking like you were
And
talking
it's
last night,
public.
now it's public.
Yes,
And
yes.
government is empowered to protect the public. So the government can step in to protect the public from hearing your foul mouth, from hearing what you're saying. They can protect the public. They will pull you off the air and you cannot get back on to be heard by the public. Why? Because the government is protecting the public from hearing you.
Mm-hmm.
But they cannot come into the restaurant and arrest you for talking about somebody and using the language you're using at the table. Why? Because it's a private conversation. Nobody has any business coming in to listen to what you're saying at the table because it's a private conversation. Everybody there wants to be there. They want to hear you. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was told by the attorneys, if you're going to give people documents and pictures and all kinds of extraordinary information that they never had before, you
Mm-hmm.
better do it in a private venue. Set
Mm-hmm.
up a separate website just for your research.
And
So
that's
if
why
you
we
go,
have to sign
yeah,
in and join it, and we become part of that private dinner party, as it
precisely,
were. Perfect.
exactly. And
Perfect.
now you can go on my research website
Mm-hmm.
and read all the documents and incredible research showing you stuff the government never told you.
You know,
And
and
show
the
you where
church
to
didn't tell
find
you
it.
either.
It's incredible. And
Yeah.
there's one section on my research website called interesting articles.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part on my research website called interesting articles. I've got articles on there that will blow your mind.
I'm
Things you've
sure.
never been told before. You've never been told how
Oh,
this world really works. And boy, the government is not happy. But it's a private research. It's a private
perfect.
website, and you have to join it. But you will find things on there that will blow your mind. I've known for many years. I just put it out there for anybody who wants to.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So go on Jordan Maxwell Show
Yeah.
and join. If you'd like to make a donation, that would be nice because I live on donations and I don't get that many. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always hurting because I don't have the money because I've spent my whole life researching the dark side of life. And
Mm-hmm.
while I was doing that, I was not out making money as a businessman.
Exactly.
And so I was spending time and money, not making time and money. So
Exactly.
today, at 80 years old, I finally come to a point where I am totally broke,
Oh.
done everything I could to get all the information I could to give to people for free. And I've
Mm-hmm.
been doing it for some 60 years. I started back in 1959,
Mm-hmm.
60 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and started telling people what I was finding, all the research I was doing, educating people, adults and children, going to schools and teaching young people. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what I do for a living. This is what I do. I'm a teacher. And
Mm-hmm.
today in America, if you're a teacher, you're not making anything. And most people are not going to support you. Most people don't care to hear what I'm talking about. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear what the real truth is. If you remember that movie, A Few Good Men, where
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise was the attorney, and
Mm-hmm.
he's talking to Jack Nicholson, and Jack Nicholson said, "What do you want from me, kid?" He said, "I want the truth." And
You
Nicholson
can't
said, "You
handle the
can't
truth.
handle the truth." Yeah, you want the
That's
truth?
true. That's absolutely true. But there are more of us waking up, Jordan. There are more of us waking up and we're hungry and we want to learn this stuff. And our time has come to an end. If you have anything that you want to, get out before we end, that's perfect. But I want to tell you, you are so valuable and you've been so important in my life, helping me to see which end is up and trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm so blessed that you agreed to be on my show today. I am so blessed. Come on, share something, last few parting words with us, and then we got to say goodbye.
Well, I appreciate it. Little things mean a lot. Small little things. For instance, let me give you an idea how government works in small ways. When you're driving and you get pulled over by the police, they flip on their lights and they pull you over.
Mm-hmm.
The cop comes up to your car and he asks for your ID and you give him your ID. And he says, "Is this you?" You think, well, of course, that looks like me, doesn't it? It's got my name on it. It must be me. Stupid. Why would you ask such a stupid question? No, he's asking you that question so that you will say yes and testify that this corporate name that the state has given you and the federal government has given you on the stock market does represent your body, and you are agreeing to it, that this does represent me. It's not me. That's a picture of me. It's not me. I am me. That's just a picture of me. Well, he's asking, do you, of your own volition, out of your own mouth, say that this represents you? Yes, that's me. That's what he wanted to know. Now he can arrest you because he has absolute control over that license. Absolute control by the government over that license. So now he can arrest you. Now he can fine you. Now he can ticket you. He can do anything he wants because you agreed that this was you. So very clever.
Stepping into a snare. And so you're helping us to identify the snares. So hopefully we can lessen the damage on ourselves and on our society.
And one more thing, a couple more things. One, to give you an idea how this stuff works, when the cop is writing you out a ticket, he's writing you out the ticket. And when he writes out the ticket, it's his ticket. It's in his hand. His ticket, he's writing it out, and then he signs it. And he hands it to you, and you sign it, and he's expecting you to pay the ticket. But you are a co-signer. You're not the owner of the ticket. He's the owner of the ticket, and he signed it first. You co-signed it. You are an underwriter. You co-sign for the ticket. You can take that ticket, photocopy it, and send it to the Secretary of State in the state in which you live. I don't suggest you do this. You'll get in trouble, so don't do it. I'm just telling you the way it works. You take that ticket and photocopy it, and then go to a notary and fill out a affidavit with the notary saying that you mistakenly co-signed for something that you don't want to co-sign for. You didn't know that you had co-signed. And you tell the Secretary of State in the state in which you live, here is a ticket that I was talked into co-signing and I don't want to co-sign. And if you co-sign for me to buy a car and the next day you decide you don't want to co-sign, then you contact the dealer and tell them, I don't want my name on a co-sign, and take it off. Well, now I have to pay for it. So therefore, if you co-sign with the cop and you send the letter to the Secretary of State saying you don't want to co-sign for this, the cop has to pay the ticket.
Oh, he's not going to like that.
He will get a mail from the Secretary of State, and he will get a mail from the Secretary of State that he has to pay the ticket. It's his ticket, he signed it, and he has to pay the ticket. And I've seen it happen when the cop shows up on your porch ranting and raving and screaming that this is a $300 ticket. I got a wife and children. I don't have $300. You think I do? You don't mind giving it to me. I'm just a nobody to you. I'm just a dog in the street. And so you give me anything and I have to pay it. No. You pay it. You signed it. I'm a co-signer. You pay the ticket, not me.
Oh,
I may look stupid to you, but I'm not stupid. I know exactly how this stuff works. And so I'm saying if you go on my website, the Jordan Maxwell Show,
mm-hmm.
and join my research websites right there. You can join the research website. You click on it, it goes to, and you pay a one-time small donation to the websites. One-time donation
Mm-hmm.
for a lifetime of all of it. And I'm putting all my stuff on there for free. Just putting it all on.
Fantastic.
All the documents explaining how to do this, how to do that, what this means, and how to get out of it, what
Fantastic.
that means, and how to nullify it, not get rid of it. It's an incredible story about how the world works.
Yeah.
And so, if you really want to know, if you're really interested, most people are not interested. It doesn't bother them. They don't know and they don't care until they get in trouble. Now, when the government comes after you and you're going to prison for 20 years,
Mm.
oh, now they want to call Jordan Maxwell and find out what's going on here. Oh, yeah, sure. Now you want to know. You should have learned a long time
Well,
ago how this world
yeah,
works.
I
You
agree.
wouldn't be in the trouble if you had just known. If you had come to me a long time ago, I could have told you and I could have helped you. I can't help you now. You're going to jail. So you should have educated yourself a long time ago.
Yeah.
And well, people ask me, well, how do you do that? I always say, well, why don't you do something you've never done before? Why don't you get interested, get smart, and go on my website and check it
Mm-hmm.
out and read everything. Now
Mm-hmm.
you'll see how the world really works. I was doing this kind of research since I was 8 and 9 years old. I've
Mm-hmm.
been watching how adults are lying to children continually. They're not going to tell you everything. Adults are not going to tell you anything if you're a child. And so I know that. Well, that's what the government. In the United States, there is a federal law called Parents Petra.
Mm-hmm.
Parents Petra.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, and it says, and that is a translation from the Latin meaning, the government is your parent. It's your mother and father.
Whew.
Yeah, it's called Parent Petra. There's a federal law in America that says your parent is the government. The government decides everything about you, where you will go, how much credit you will have, where you eat. They will trace you down through your credit cards. They are your parent. They know who you're going to marry. They know where you work. They know where you live. And we have social networks like Facebook and all these other social networks, Twitter. These are called social networks.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the Soviet Union was referred to as the USSR under communism. Russia was called the Soviet Union. The USSR, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
Mm-hmm.
So socialism is world communism. And today we have social networks like Twitter and Facebook, communism, Marxist, Leninist, Soviet communism. Now the government knows where you live. They know what you look like. They know what you eat, what you like and what you
Everything.
don't like. They know who your friends are. They know who your family is. They know everything about you. So when they get ready to arrest you and you don't think they will, watch. No, the Germans didn't think Adolf Hitler would flip out, but he did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Russians of Lenin's time didn't think the Russian leaders would flip out, but they did.
Yeah.
And 50 million people were murdered the by the communist leaders, and that's what we have today in America.
Jordan, could I have you back on the show again? Could we pick up where we left off? Because there's so much. There's just so much. And I
We
do
could talk
appreciate
for
it so much.
days.
Yes, literally. I am going to wrap up now, though, and thank you so much for joining us, so much for making the time for me. It means so much to me, and I
Of,
know to my viewers. And so I'm just going to say goodbye. Is that okay with you? You want to say goodbye?
of course it is. Of course. Goodbye, dear. And anytime you want to talk, just let me know.
I
We can
will.
do it. We can do it anytime.
Thank
But
you.
just keep in mind that nothing in this world is what you think it is. You better talk to a lawyer or somebody who's good with the esoteric way the world works. That's why in all cultures, Native American and all the ancient cultures, there was always a very high respect for the elders of the tribe. The elders were highly respected by the young people. Today in America, nobody's respected. There is no respect. But if you had any sense, you would respect an elder who's telling you things. You will never be heard. You'll never hear from anyone, but that one person has the knowledge and he wants to give it to you for free. If you just respect him and go to his website and join the website, the research website, you will see things on there nobody has ever told you, and nobody ever will tell you because they don't know. You got to know first.
I can't wait. I can't wait to check it out, Jordan. And thank you again.
Thank you for joining us for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to Karen's YouTube channel, click the like button, and share this show with your friends. Check out Karen's website at KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. All the links are available in the description box below. Until the next time, keep up the good work.
Surrendering to endlessness puts all my inner strife to rest. For time gives birth to hurriedness. It all makes sense, well, more or less, and the sages put me to their test. With heart and soul I do my best to find the answers to my quest. I wonder and I must confess, I don't know where it comes from, but I know it's okay. If this is all an illusion, then I'm willing to play. It's okay.